All right, guys, here we go again. More with the stupidity. It seems like anytime the name Bayonetta is mentioned with Nintendo exclusivity, people just decide to ignore logic, ignore what's actually happening, and the truth when it comes down to it. So we're going to get down to it here in terms of everything when it comes to Bayonetta, the exclusivity, what's going on with Nintendo, and everything else. But before we do, what's up, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And if I'm still at 80K, shout outs. Thank you guys for the 80K. Do appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get right into this topic here, man. And it's really nothing to be heated about or anything, because it seems like this has been going on for like almost a decade now when it comes to Bayonetta. So here's the truth about Bayonetta 3. Here's the truth about the exclusivity that Nintendo's had with the character. So originally when the game came out back in 2009/2010, when it comes to Japan and the US, it came out on the Xbox 360, which was the lead platform. At the time, Platinum Games had issues with the PlayStation 3. They could not develop on it efficiently, so it was outsourced to Sega. Sega owns the IP to Bayonetta. They're the ones who were the publisher originally and everything. And Sega handled the port of Bayonetta, the original Bayonetta, on the PlayStation 3, which ended up not being so good. The Xbox 360 was the lead version. That version was better. It still had some frame rate drops here and there, but overall the version was better, whereas the PS3 version was 30 frames per second, had issues, whatever the case was. Okay, either way, that was that. The game ended up not selling too great. It needed price drops just to even hit like 1 point something million across both platforms. I know like the Xbox 360 version originally almost hit 1 million, maybe a little bit underneath, but it wasn't like it was a huge success when the game launched. It needed price drops to get the numbers that it did get. So Sega did not see a good enough return on their investment. Now, they originally were making Bayonetta, Sega was, and Platinum Games were making Bayonetta 2 for all the different platforms, for Microsoft, for Sony, and maybe even for PC, who knows. But at some point, Sega decided, you know what, we don't want to fund this anymore. This is going to be too expensive. We're not going to make our money back. People didn't buy the first one, whatever the case is, and said, we're done. And they just canceled the game. Now, it was at that point that Platinum Games and Sega, more probably like Platinum Games, were looking out to potential suitors for other publishers to get into a deal, or for mainly Microsoft and Sony. Like, hey, if you guys approach, Sega with this, they will, work with you with the license and you can have it as a console exclusive. Microsoft refused, Sony refused. So therefore, Nintendo was the one that was left, and that's how the deal ended up getting done. And that is the absolute truth with the exclusivity of Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U originally, and now of course also on the Nintendo Switch. It wasn't something that Nintendo went out and poached. It wasn't something that Nintendo was aggressive with and stole exclusivity or stole it away from other platforms. The other two platforms, from what I understand, from what Hideki Kamiya had said, or people at Platinum, that they had their opportunity, Microsoft and Sony, and they both declined, probably based off the performance of the first game, how people weren't really interested in Bayonetta as a franchise overall. They just really weren't. It wasn't like a hot commodity when the game came out, despite being released towards the end of the generation, 2010, so it wasn't like there wasn't a lot of systems and a lot of gamers across the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 to play the game. So there's that, right? Now, that's how Nintendo got Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U. And it was a good deal for Nintendo because it probably wasn't an investment that was too expensive compared to some of the other games out there, but it was definitely a good investment because it ended up snowballing into, of course, Bayonetta into Smash Brothers, and the Switch ports of Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2, the exclusive content that was in the Bayonetta games, the exclusive Nintendo content. So all that stuff was really cool that happened. And if you remember, Bayonetta 2, the exclusivity with the Nintendo Wii U, because Wii U was not a popular system like the Nintendo Switch, obviously. People went absolutely crazy. People started doing death threats. People started just doing crazy and insane stuff online because they weren't going to be able to play Bayonetta 2 on the Xbox or on the PlayStation. It was pretty nuts. And Mega64 actually had a really funny video. You guys can check that out when you get the opportunity. It's really funny on some of the stuff that was being said about Bayonetta 2 and what people were going to do that they actually read off and reenacted. So it was pretty interesting. But anyway, now we're moving on to Bayonetta 3. Okay, once again, Nintendo has decided that, hey, we're going to go ahead and continue with what we started here and we're going to bring Bayonetta 3 to the Nintendo Switch. Now, this isn't a third-party game that would have been available on other platforms, and then all of a sudden Nintendo's coming in here. It's something that Nintendo is funding and publishing. Like Hideki Kamiya has stated himself, if you want to see the game on other platforms, you'd have to go to Nintendo and ask them for that, because they are the owners of Bayonetta 2. They're the owners of Bayonetta 3. They have licensed the IP and have completely owned the rights to that game, not to the Bayonetta character herself, not to all the lore and like the IP. Sega owns the IP. It's licensed by Nintendo. It's developed by Platinum Games. But Bayonetta 2 and Bayonetta 3, since it's published and funded through contracts, okay? Through contracts, it's published and funded with Nintendo. They are the ones that decide where that game goes. They are the owners of that game, so therefore those will be exclusive. Now, they don't own Bayonetta 1, right? That's why you've seen Bayonetta 1 on other platforms, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Nintendo does not own that. However, they do own the rights to those two games, not the actual character. They license that, but the rights to those two games, that's why they decide where it goes. It's essentially like a Mario or Zelda, just without the actual IP ownership, but they own whatever game, the game that it is. So that's the thing here, guys. It's not something to where it's very super complicated or anything like that. Essentially just follow the money with this one. Nintendo kept this franchise alive. Nintendo wanted to see this franchise be successful. The fans obviously went out there and supported Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 across the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch. So the fact that the fans are supporting it, the fact that Nintendo supports the IP, obviously it's worthy and it's valid that it's on the Nintendo system as an exclusive. If Nintendo was the one that believed in the franchise, Nintendo was the one that resurrected it. Without Nintendo, we wouldn't have seen Bayonetta 2, which means Bayonetta 3 wouldn't have happened either, because Sega obviously had no, they did not want to continue that. And if you look at it, a lot of those Sega IPs from the 7th generation, where are they? A lot of those Platinum Games IPs, a lot of those IPs that they did, they're pretty much gone. Sega is not even really worried about them. So for people that are saying, oh, well, Sega would have thought about it and brought it back some other point, probably not. I mean, they re-released Vanquish and Bayonetta. They've done that, but it's not like, okay, well, where's Vanquish at? Where's the next Vanquish? It's been how many years now? There's still not another Vanquish. So it's not like Sega had any type of crazy interest in continuing these IPs that they worked with Sega on, right? It's not like they were going to do anything with it. So really Nintendo needed to step in and take care of that. They really needed to step in and take care of that. And they were able to get that game done. They were able to get Bayonetta 2 done, and it was fantastic. They were able to get the nice Switch ports and everything. And now they're looking at Bayonetta 3 and the game looks absolutely incredible. But I always say this when it comes down to like Nintendo exclusivity or whatever the case is, like when people start slandering the game, when people start saying some crazy stuff about the game online, you already know that the game is going to be pretty good when it comes to Nintendo. And that's what I'm seeing right now. People are trying to claim that the frame rate was bad, and it's like, no, trailers actually looked pretty good when it comes to the frame rate. It actually looked really smooth. People are trying to say like the graphics are terrible or something, and I'm like, no. When it comes to like third person action adventure games or action games, hack and slash, whatever you want to say, on the Switch, it'd be hard pressed to find many other games that look better, that are the scope and scale of what Bayonetta is doing, like with the huge monsters and everything like that. It'd be hard to kind of find anything else that's as good as that. So to me, I just see it as jealousy, or I'm not really sure. So at the end of the day, the game is going to be absolutely incredible. Nintendo's done a great job with cultivating a good relationship with Platinum Games, and people should stop worrying about everything like when it comes to all this beforehand. When the game comes out, we can all judge it and we can see how it's going to be, but based off of what I already saw, it looks like it's going to be incredible. So that's the truth behind Bayonetta, guys. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, or you can simply just research it yourself. The information is out there for anyone to look up, and you can see what I'm saying. So you guys can look at it from there. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait to see it more and play it when it does come out. But what are your thoughts on this when it comes to the truth about Bayonetta, the franchise so far, Bayonetta 3? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the link in the description. I've got a membership page. You can become a member, get some cool perks, rewards, benefits, Discord access. Also, make sure you hit that like button if you didn't already do so, and subscribe to the channel if you're someone new. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.